The lights of the auditorium glared hot, bouncing off polished floors and restless eyes. 100 cameras tilted forward, their lenses hungry for the next headline. On stage, Charlie Kirk leaned casually into the microphone, wearing the half-smirk that had become his trademark. His words dripped with certainty, barbed and meant to sting. The audience stirred uneasily, some chuckling, others bristling. For a moment, it seemed the evening would follow the same predictable script. Kirk provoking, the crowd reacting, the cycle of noise repeating itself once again. Then Barack Obama leaned forward. He did not rush. He did not raise his voice. He simply adjusted the microphone, let the silence stretch, and allowed every person in that room to lean closer almost involuntarily. His eyes were steady, his posture calm. So calm it unsettled. Kirk's smirk twitched, as though sensing something was coming but unable to brace for it. And then, in that voice the world had come to know, measured, deliberate, edged with a quiet steel, Obama said something no one expected. The line cut clean through the noise, not with anger but with precision. It wasn't loud. It wasn't lengthy. Yet it landed with the weight of a thunderclap. Gasps rippled through the hall. The audience froze, mid-breath. Somewhere in the back, a phone slipped from a hand and clattered to the floor. For once, Kirk had no comeback ready, no instant deflection or canned applause line. His mouth opened, but nothing came. Cameras clicked furiously, capturing every angle of his faltering expression, every flicker of disbelief. The crowd seemed suspended in a single heartbeat, as though the oxygen had been sucked out of the room. Even those who had come to cheer Kirk couldn't hide the shock on their faces. It wasn't just what Obama said, it was how he said it. Calm, unshaken, absolute. That moment, those few words, shifted the air. It was more than a clapback, more than a clever line. It was a reminder of the gulf between unday. To understand why the room shook with such intensity, you have to understand the climate outside those walls. America, in that moment, was not merely divided, it was fraying. Every debate, every tweet, every televised clash seemed to deepen the fissures. People weren't just disagreeing anymore. They were questioning whether they even lived in the same country. Into this combustible atmosphere stepped Charlie Kirk, a man who had built an empire on stoking those very divisions. Kirk wasn't just another conservative commentator. He was the sharp-edged son of the culture wars, brandishing statistics like weapons, delivering jabs that played less like arguments and more like performances. He built his stage on college campuses and social media feeds, where provocation was the currency and outrage the applause. For his followers, he was the truth-teller who mocked the elites. For his critics, he was the embodiment of arrogance dressed up as wit. Either way, Kirk had become a magnet for attention, and attention in today's politics was power. Barack Obama represented the opposite pole. Long after leaving office, his words still carried the resonance of a man who had once embodied hope in a fractured time. He was not shouting across cable panels. He was not trading insults in Twitter spats. He had become, almost by default, the elder statesman above the noise. Calm, deliberate, almost maddeningly unshaken in a world addicted to speed and spectacle. And it was this calm, this unbothered composure, that made his words so dangerous to someone like Kirk. Because Kirk thrived in chaos. He needed his opponent flustered, defensive, red-faced. But Obama never gave him that satisfaction. This clash wasn't just about two men. It was about two visions of America. One vision leaned on mockery, sound bites, and an endless churn of outrage to keep supporters locked in a cycle of grievance. The other leaned on restraint, dignity, and the conviction that truth doesn't need to shout to be. Charlie Kirk did not stumble into the spotlight by accident. He built his brand with the precision of a marketer and the ruthlessness of a street fighter. Barely out of his teens, he co-founded Turning Point USA, a conservative youth organization designed to plant flags of ideology on college campuses across America. His mission was clear: provoke, disrupt, and dominate the narrative. He wasn't interested in quiet persuasion or slow consensus. He wanted confrontation because confrontation drew cameras, and cameras brought power. College tours became his stage. He would appear in auditoriums packed with students, ready to field questions but also ready to spar. His tone was always sharp, his confidence bordering on cocky. He wielded statistics the way a magician flips cards. Sleek, fast, often dazzling. But beneath the gloss, critics often found the numbers misleading, cherry-picked, or twisted for effect. That didn't matter to Kirk. He wasn't in the business of careful debate. He was in the business of winning moments, of producing viral clips where he could humiliate a young opponent and bask in the cheers of his audience. Social media amplified this persona. Kirk became a constant presence on Twitter, where his short, biting comments spread like wildfire. He mocked climate activists as naive, ridiculed diversity initiatives as reverse racism, and painted himself as the warrior against what he called the radical left. The contradictions were obvious. A man who railed against cancel culture while using his platform to smear and silence critics. A champion of free speech who thrived on belittling those who spoke against him. But for his supporters, the contradictions didn't matter. What mattered was that he fought, loudly and unapologetically. The controversies stacked up. There were stories of misinformation shared under his name, claims that unraveled under scrutiny, moments where his bravado exceeded the facts. Yet each time he stumbled, he seemed to retreat.